Mastering the mind is something that every human being would aspire to do. Most of us wants to master the mind. Most of us want to stop overthinking. Most of us want to, I want more confidence. Why do I feel this way? And I'm here to tell you guys, this happened because we don't understand the difference between the brain and the mind. And we don't know how to observe our thoughts, the observer being observed. Science call it metacognition, right? You're observing your thinking, the ability to think about your thinking. And that is a key distinction that they use. And I'm gonna simplify it for it because I can use science, but I think science missed some parts. If you are thinking about your thinking and you have the ability to think about your thinking, then who is watching the thinking? And that's the observer. And the observer that is observing the thoughts, or the observer that is observing themselves, science called it metacognition. But of course, they're missing a lot of pieces, because if you're telling me I have the ability to think about my thinking, or I have the ability to observe my thinking, then that means I'm separate from my thoughts. I am not my thoughts. And a lot of people would say, well, if I'm not my thoughts, then who am I? Right? And this is where it gets interested. And this is where Certitude come in with Certitude coaching. I've been doing 2 years, or sorry, 2 decades of independent studies, and I decided, let me just go into the university and academia and get certified and do it the official way. Think about it from this way. You're sitting down, you're overthinking about something. Maybe you have a big day tomorrow presentation and you're thinking about it over and over again. Then you say, I need to stop thinking about this. I need to stop thinking about it. That thing, right? That part of you that say, I need to stop thinking about it, that is your true self. That is the person who's observing, right? That's the observer observing the thoughts. When I need to stop thinking about this. The issue is most people never really meet that I. Most people meet the thoughts, right? But they never meet the I. So every time you're thinking, if you think about it, thoughts always bring you back into the past, or thoughts bring you into the future. That's only if you didn't train the I to keep it in the present. Because only the I can keep thoughts in the present, because the I, the person who is saying that I keep thinking about this and I need to stop thinking about this, that needs to connect to the brain, right? And I want you to think about the brain like this. Think about the brain like the GPS system. The brain is the GPS system where it got all the wirings, right? Because everybody have a GPS system, and the wiring is still the same. The coding is still the same. Nevertheless, we don't know how the code is mapped in the ethers, right, from the satellite. Because in the cars, nothing is plugged in. Nothing's really plugged in, but the GPS know where to take us. And the ethers, or the satellite, think about that as the mind, as the thinking, right? So all of the thinking, because thinking itself is not matter, you can measure it. You can measure the brain, but you can, because that's the organ, but you can't measure the matter of the thinking itself. It could only be expressed through behavior. So if the I, the self that say that I need to stop thinking about this, have control of its GPS system, then we can able to overcome self-doubt. We can able to increase our confidence. We can able to go after our goals. We'll be able to have the ability to do whatever we are destined to do on this planet. Some of us might want to be a superstar, right? And some of us just want to be at home and taking care of the kids, but we'll be the best at that. And in order to do that, you have to able to let the I say, not say, let the I control the thinking, and now let the thinking control the I. But if you're saying that how I feel stressed out because you're overthinking, now you're letting the thoughts take control over the I. Now the I, the self, is lost within the whole process of the brain functioning, of getting stimuli from the outside environment, or memory or worry. And that's where a lot of people tend to fall short. And science teach you that, but they don't get technical about it. They have something called cognitive behavior therapy, but cognitive behavior therapy teach you how to think differently, but they don't mention the I. That part of it is missing because they can't measure the I, right? And they talk about metacognition, the ability to observe your own thoughts, but they don't say that that I that is missing from it because they can't measure that. And then I get into spirituality, or it can get into religion, and science and religion and spirituality don't mix. So therefore you see, then you still feel like something is missing in the teaching and in the education of science, and that's the reason why. But certitude is here, and this is what I coach. This is what I decided I'm going to dedicate my life to understanding the human brain. And my 2 decades of independent study served me well. And now I decided within the last year or two, I decided to go back into academia and become a certified, a licensed neuropsychologist. I'm in the process of doing it. I haven't gotten there quite yet. Nevertheless, my business certitude, I'm specialized from a coaching standpoint, how to let people understand the difference between being an observer that's observing itself. Meaning that I, when I say, I need to stop thinking about this, I want to stop thinking about this, let that I connect with the memory and everything that you collected over the years. Once those two things connect, then we're gonna have thoughts, and we're gonna have challenges and adversities, adversities, right? The difference is that you're gonna be able to navigate the adversities in a sense of peace and not worry. That can put you in a place of depression. That can put you in a place of anxiety, because depression and anxiety is just the eye over watching the brain overthink over and over and over again, and don't have the ability to stop it or redirect it, because it wasn't trained that that I is who you really are. And someone may say that's the spirit. Someone may say that's their identity. Is many different. Some would say that's the soul. It's different ways how different culture identify that I. But science does not. Science and traditional therapy does not touch into that aspect of it, right? So, and that's the sweet spot of having, you can teach from a licensed perspective, and then you can teach from a holistic humanity perspective. Therefore you can help people bridge the gap between science and doing your own observation of the self, and really taking the time to learn the science of the brain, and getting also getting information from researchers and scientists. And this is what I teach at Certitude. Yeah. So if you guys are interested, book a consultation, and let's get deep diving and understanding the difference between the brain and the mind, and help build confidence, etc., etc.